Brook Forest Voices presents Secrets of the Plumed Saint, a tale of intrigue from northern New Mexico by Elizabeth Ann Galligan. Narrated by Brian Amador.
Chapter 1. Incense and Beeswax, Villavieja, New Mexico, 1972. "I've never held a saint before," Ernie said as he cradled the 100-year-old carving of the Santo Nino de Atocha, the Holy Child. He held back the tears he considered unmanly, though a single one traced a silvery path down his leathery skin. As he stood in awe, he reflected on the twists and turns of the past months, events that had threatened the solidarity of the community of Villavieja. The strange sequence had begun late one afternoon when Filomeno, the sacristan, was finishing up his duties. He had cleaned the chapel and was preparing to secure it for the night when he discovered that something was missing, something desperately important. Filomeno's aged eyes, encircled with wrinkled skin like a turtle's, adjusted to the dim light inside the small capilla dedicated to the miraculous Santo Nino de Atocha, nestled in a high mountain valley of Nueva España in the village of Villavieja. Unextinguished candles gleamed, each with its tiny halo, atop the simple wooden altar. Filomeno, the sacristan, always checked twice to be certain that every candle was out before he left the chapel. The lush, lingering smell of beeswax reminded him. The altar had to be arranged just so. He straightened the simple hand-embroidered altar cloths, picked up a crumpled leaf from the altar platform, and removed 2 dark brown beetles from the old wooden plank floor of the chapel. He checked that all the candles were out and that the capilla was in order. As always, the sacristan knelt on the lower step of the altar platform to pay his respects to the Holy Child and ask for his blessing before closing the chapel for the night. He had one final duty. With care, he arose and placed his foot on the top step of the altar platform. With his left hand, he held up the curtain that shielded the space beside the altar where the hand-carved image of the Santo Nino de Atocha was kept. The sacristan's eyes were no longer as keen as they used to be. He leaned in to check that the revered image was in its place. As he stepped up to the altar, he muttered aloud, "I got old man's eyes, getting all blurry." Filomeno reached his gnarled hand toward the altarpiece in front of him and swept it gently from left to right. He felt nothing. Disconcerted, he repeated the gesture from right to left. Still nothing, only space. Dust motes drifted in slow motion through the disturbed air. The old sacristan gasped for breath. He stepped back in shock, almost losing his balance. Their precious statue was not in its accustomed place. ¿Por qué? No one had mentioned borrowing it. Filomeno turned away from the altar. "Where is your brother? Did you see anything?" he demanded of the blank-eyed, life-size plaster Santo Nino that sat against the whitewashed wall. The imposing statue, ornately dressed in bold primary colors, dominated the right side of the chapel. It remained placid and mute. The sacristan had to tell the mayordomos, Joshua and Sara, right away. The elderly brother and sister were direct descendants of old Mr. Benavides, the santero, and their duty was to care for the chapel and all its contents. There had to be an explanation for the statue's absence. If not, Dios mío, if someone had stolen it, it would be very bad for everyone. In Villavieja, it was the custom to allow the gente to take the statue home to pray a private novena for a special intention. Permission to borrow it came only from the mayordomos, Sara or Joshua, the elected caretakers. The borrower also had to inform Filomeno of the date of the loan and the date of its return. In a land where priests were scarce, the faithful had kept this special statue without harm for over 100 years. The chapel's tiny treasure was kept hidden in the custom-made pine box old Mr. Benavides had made to protect it. The image nestled beneath the right side of the altar and was displayed only on special occasions. Carved of cottonwood root and painted with natural pigments in the 1870s by the area's best santero,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?